Governance and security. Yes. Why do we care about this? Because we can set up guardrails in your Claude account for each function, but what is the guaranteed in terms of security from Claude itself? Access follows the person, not the AI. So when Claude operates as a connected user, whatever that person sees in Monday, Claude can also see. But whatever they can't open or see, Claude can't open or see either. And there's no backdoor that gives Claude more access than any human on your team has. It's not one shared login for everyone. Each person authenticates as themselves. So if Sarah connects Claude and Claude operates with Sarah's access, then James connects with Claude, it operates with James' access. They're completely separate. And the last point is that one that tends to put people at ease, at least for me anyways, which is lock boards stay locked, private items stay private. Claude doesn't get a special pass just because it's an AI. The same permissions your admin set up already are the boundaries that Claude works within. You're not adding a new security problem. The security model you already have in Monday is the one that governs Claude. Now you can get to decide what Claude can touch because if the last slide is about what it inherits by default, which are your existing permissions, this one is more about the controlled layer on top of that. Your admins get to hold the dial. AI access can be turned on or off, workspace by workspace, board by board. You don't have to open everything. You pick exactly which workspaces Claude can operate in and keep the rest completely closed. The third card, which is one that I personally would highlight for anyone with a security background, is that Claude cannot grant itself more access. So it can't work around whatever permissions you've set. Whatever scope you defined in the setup is in the scope it stays in. And if you ever wanted to pull the plug for any reason, you can simply disconnect it and the door is locked for the next attempt. And I love this tagline. The keys stay in your hand. Claude is operating in your environment in your terms, and every one of these control is something your admin can adjust or revoke at any point. A second question that I see a lot of people have right after when we answer what can Claude see is where does my data go and who else can use it? Starting with the most important one, on business plans, your data is not used to train AI models. What happens in your Monday.com account stays in your Monday.com account. Anthropic doesn't take your work to improve Claude. Then on the technical side, which is data by rest, meaning that it's stored and it's encrypted with AES-256. That's the same standards that bank use. And if someone somehow got to it, they have gibberish, just like me, and I'm speaking. They would hear and they wouldn't be able to actually extract the information. And that also means that data in transit between you and Claude is wrapped around a transport layer or TLS the entire way. It's protected end to end. And I think what's really cool is that they have all the certifications you care about. SOC 2, ISO 27001 and 42001. And these aren't just badges that Anthropic just gave themselves. These are third-party audits that someone came in, tested the controls, and signed off. So if you have a security or compliance team that needs to see documentation before anything gets approved, that documentation exists and it's externally verified. And finally, what happens during the session and after the session is completed when you interact with Claude on Monday? First, your conversations with Claude are completely private. Monday can't read your chats from Claude. Accessing them takes a documented reason and explicit permission. There's a process and there's accountability. Secondly, the login token Claude uses to connect to your account isn't stored. Monday doesn't keep a key lying around that could be grabbed if something went wrong. Once the session is done, there's nothing left to steal. Thirdly, everything is logged. Who asked what and when. If you ever need it and what actions were taken. So if you ever needed to audit what Claude did in your account, the record exists and you can pull it back at any time. And finally, zero data retention for sensitive work. Once Claude enters, the data from that interaction is not kept at all. It's used to respond and then it's gone. The architecture is basically designed so that even if something went wrong upstream, there's minimal exposure because there's minimal data held. And so I'm going to give you a quick real-time scenario. You and Sarah both use Claude. You both have the exact same prompt. Show me every deal over $50,000. Same tool, same question. You get the CRM data, but the leadership workspace stays out of reach because you were never given access to it. So Claude logs in as you don't have that key or that permission, so you get a response from Claude saying it couldn't pull up any deals. However, when Sarah runs the identical prompt and she is in leadership, her Claude can see the margins and give her a response giving her an actual answer. The AI didn't change. The access simply followed the person, and that's what changed. And so what's nice about this is that you're not relying on people to use Claude responsibly in the right areas. The fences decide what's in scope and everyone operates inside of it.